Striking part 2. Now, Master Junior went over all the fundamental ways to strike. What is you need to think about is there's so many different ways to strike someone, and the reason why is because almost every environment is different. Sometimes a straight punch is sufficient. Sometimes a knife hand is sufficient. You never really know exactly what you're going to have to use. That's why we teach so many different ways of striking, because we don't live in a world where one size fits all. There is always different variations, different variables, different things go on inside, so you have to have multiple ways. Me personally, I've always liked to be close into someone right here, and from right here, the reverse punch that Master Paul said is one of the most effective things from it's quick and sudden, and it's dead in the chest. That is the reason why we teach so many different things like this. But again, always remember, with all of this knowledge we're trying to impart to you, there becomes a tremendous responsibility that goes along with it. Because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Because you can hit somebody and strike them really hard, it's not always necessary to do that. Remember, the first strike is usually the worst strike in the fact that it's going to lead to a lot of other things after that. If you can simply talk someone down from the situation you're in before ever throw a strike, you're better off for that. That's why when we teach classes, we always teach with our hands up, which is basically I don't want any trouble position, but from right here, you can execute every strike. Master Paul Jr., you want to stand in the back, please?
Sure.
You can execute almost every strike that Master Paul Jr. showed you just did from right here. He talked about knife hands or outside strikes and anything else. From right here, boom, hands up. Right here, punches, no problem. Here, turn it over, front punch. Whatever you want to do, you can strike almost anyone, but this is more of a defensive position. And having this up to start with is showing them you don't really mean them any harm and you don't want to fight them. But in the real world, sometimes you have to defend yourself. So when we do these things, that's the reason why we practice. And the only way you're going to get better with any of these techniques on any of these videos is if you practice them. Simply sitting there and watching them, you're not going to absorb it and make it go from here to here. The only way this is going to get better is to practice, 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 practice. Now, if you're our advanced student, these videos are primarily designed for our beginning classes, our white belts, our yellow belts, and somewhat for our orange belts. There are some habits that we get into that we need to cut off quickly. One of the biggest habits that I see in incorrect punches is allowing the punch to move across your body before you throw it. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to demonstrate it. I see it a lot in forms. I see where young people, they'll stand and they'll do their low block correctly, and we'll get to low blocks and all that in another video, but they'll do their low block correctly. And then from right here, it should be a punch. They should be able to step and punch that should look like this, but instead, a lot of them look like this. They bring their hand inside their body, and then they try and push the punch out. That is not ever going to be an effective punch, ever. So what we need you to do when you're practicing at home, do not go fast, do not punch hard, just try to punch correctly. Get mom and dad to watch you. Tell them what they'll be looking for. You don't want your hand to come to here to throw the punch. You want your hand as a draw. You want to take your finger and point a straight line at something. If I'm going to point at Miss Martha, who's behind the camera helping us do all these videos, and let's just say I have done a block here and I've done something, and I'm going to punch from right here. I want that punch to literally go right at her. Where a lot of you, what you're doing is you're pointing that away, and then you're pointing back to her. When you travel in a circle like this, your punch has no power in behind it. It's not an effective punch. So when you practice at home, you're doing your forms, because we're going to go over all the forms on the videos too. We're going to take a time and post almost everything that you need to know to continue your training, even though you can't be on a mat with us, which bothers me tremendously, but I know that's just the way we have to deal with it today. When I do our form, if I take that first block and I step and I punch, you notice everything is just smooth and easy. It's not hard, it's not fast. You do it smooth and easy until you know it, and then you can go, then from right here, you can step, punch, block. But it's still fundamentally, it's still coming in the right direction. That concludes part 2. There is a lot to talk about, honestly. I'm not going to say it's a conclusion yet. When punches and all the little details, we will go over them in class. This is not going to last forever. We will be in class hopefully very soon. And when we do, if you've been practicing, you maybe pick up some bad habits. Don't worry about it. We will do our best, and we'll correct those little habits that you pick up and correct and put you back on the right path. Other than that, I'm going to say good evening.